Welcome to a video that discusses the job setup in Sage 100 Contractor. This is pretty straightforward, but let's go through some of the items that are not so obvious. First, we enter the job screen through screen 3.5 or using the desktop or using the projects tab and selecting jobs. We'll do that. And that brings up the Williams Post Office, which you'll find in your sample company. And we give it a name and a short name and a status. That's all that's required to set up a job. We can set up all the rest of this information later on. So in our sample company, this is the name that's going to appear on the bill. This is the name that we're going to refer to it by, or in reports where we're like horizontally challenged on the length of the name. Let's talk about the job status. These are pretty straightforward. If I want to, I can track jobs that I get a request for bid, in which case it would be in as a bid status. And then I could change it to refused if I didn't get the job, or to contract if I did. Current means I've started work. Complete, people use this for different things, but it's generally we change it to complete in the month that it was completed, and then close when everything's done on the job. You should also know there's just a little update feature where we can change jobs by picking them to a complete status. So just go like so and insert the selected items, and then it goes through all those jobs and changes them to close or complete, however we choose to do so. That is a kind of a handy feature. So let's change this to current. For all jobs, we will probably have a client. For remodel type work, usually the client address and the address of the job is one and the same. For most other jobs, obviously the client doesn't necessarily, the client address and the job address aren't necessarily the same. We'll talk about setting up clients in another video. I'm going to exit this. It's going to try to, when we start to put the client's address, city, state, etc. in, we'll want to change that to the job address. We may want to set up sales tax districts in states where we have to charge sales tax on the job. The sales tax also comes in handy for purchases. Again, we'll talk about sales tax districts in another video. Payroll locale may or may not be important. A lot of this depends on the state in which the job is located. Income account. When we create an invoice for the job, it'll automatically go to this account, which is contract income. And in this case, our company is departmentalized, so it'll go into this department. If you're not departmentalized, don't worry about it. If it's a certified payroll job, we'll check this box. And if it's a spec job, in other words, you're building on your own account to be sold, a project to be sold at a later point in time, then we may want to post our expenses to WIP. Otherwise, they'll be posted to direct expenses. The terms of the job. So in this case, we look down the lower left-hand corner. The terms in this case are 30-day. They could be 1 month. They could be the 10th of the month. We offer discounts, which contractors normally don't do. We could put those in here, and the rate. So this would be just like the discount rate you get from a supplier for like paying in 10 days. The finance rate, if we charge a penalty for not paying on time. Again, this is something the contractors don't normally use. If we're being retained against, we may want to put in like a 10% retainage. We might get a PO from the client. We might get a contract number from the client. In any case, if we get the job, we'll want to put in the contract amount. Many cases, that's right there on the piece of paper. For T&M jobs, we'd suggest that you put in the conceptual amount that you agreed to with the client. We have a spot in here for the beginning and current balance due from the client. Then contacts and personnel. We have a spot for the architect from the vendor file, the lender from the vendor file. We've got a couple of user-defined fields if we want to make use of those. Those are discussed in another video. From our employee file, we can suggest we can input our estimator, our sales rep, and or our supervisor. The job access list, in other words, who can see this job, is indicated here, and we can choose from those employees that are subject to job access as to who can see it. Generally, we set this up in such a way that so that people in the office can always see the jobs. It's only those people that are project managers where we might not want to let them see one another's information. These are job contacts. We might get those from the client screen. We can copy and paste those in. All the columns are the same, and fill in any other information we need to over here. These are great for putting together a job call list. And then finally, if we want to, we can track when we got our plans, when the bid was completed, when the bid is due. Excuse me, this is actually, I've changed this using the F7 key. I've changed this to bid due. This is normally bid opening. I just hit F7 as the supervisor and changed the caption. The contracts, the date the contract was signed, the date I started work, the date it was completed, the date we filed the pre-lien, etc., etc. If you're building houses, and this is more for new home builders, we can put in some information about the property itself. We might have notes about this client. These are just free-form notes, or excuse me, about this job. We might have attachments to the job. Using our attachments feature, I can simply browse and find any particular file I wish, and that document becomes attached to the job. Any file will work, by the way, and when we double click on it, it opens up in its native application, in this case, Adobe Acrobat. That's it for setting up our job, except down here there are two buttons that are might be important. Our bid items. This might be helpful in putting together our proposals and or our estimate. And also our phases. Phases are sub-jobs. In many cases, if I have a large job, I might have, let's say, I might want to separate my job out into buildings or floors. If you want to do a T&M change order, you could set up a separate phase for that. That way you could segregate your costs for the change order out to its particular phase. So we simply go out here and we say, let's say phase 100 is change order number 1. That way labor and materials can be actually charged to that phase if they want. That's about it. Again, the basics here are the starred fields. That's all we need to do to set it up. So if an estimator we're going to start on a job, this is all the information that we would have to put in. If we got information along the way, we could certainly drill down to the job and add to this. That's about it for this video. Have a great day.